excited to have Ken Seiter from the Toy Association. I've known Ken now probably we discussed this is our 4th CES. And I'm really excited to have Ken from the Toy Association because the Toy Association does great work for their members. They serve as advocates. In the toy industry, you have many things like counterfeiting, and with IP coming into the conversation, there's a lot of government affairs work that needs to be done, and the Toy Association does a great job of taking care of their members and sharing the message of play through the genius of play. And so I'm excited to have Ken here and Ted from Prodigy Works. The Toy Association, over the year, is that right? The research that's been done, you and I talked last April?
Yeah, there's been a number of research studies, but the one we're going to be talking about now is based on the latest research that we have that'll be published at the end of February.
Okay, great.
So you're
they
getting
have
a preview
2 reports now that are live on toyassociation.org/STEAM.
STEAM, yes.
STEAM, that you can get the reports that are leading up to this new research. And today, Ted and Ken are going to give us a first eye view of what's coming next.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our little fireside chat.
You're just missing the fire, that's all. But use your imagination.
And I only wish I had a glass of brandy. But anyhow, welcome. And Ted and I are going to be talking about, again, some results of this research that we've uncovered around STEM. But before we get started, I just have a question. Oh, by the way, I had little prizes for people that were willing to volunteer an answer to a question or try to answer the question, and I left them in my room. So if anyone, wants to answer a question, and they do want, it's a t-shirt, it's a Genius of Play t-shirt, get me your card or email me, and I'll make sure that we sent it to you, okay? I apologize. So anyway, first question, okay? Why is there an A associated with STEM? Why is it called STEAM? Yes?
It's supposed to be the arts.
It's supposed to be the arts. Why?
Creativity and design, creation of solutions.
Great, and why is that?
We use creativity to sustain also critical thinking and things like that. It's another entry point to leverage other kind of skills.
Beautiful. Great, and all of you, beautiful. Get me your information, you'll get the t-shirts. Okay, great.
We have plenty of t-shirts.
So anyhow, the STEM was really, that acronym really was coined, like I guess 7 or 8 years ago by the National Science Foundation with the objective of getting students really prepared for science, technology, engineering, and math. And really it has penetrated. It started with at the college level, at the university level, and it's penetrated all the way down to preschool, which is really pretty phenomenal, really pretty fantastic. However, during this course of time, educators have been saying that the arts and literature have been kind of like pushed out, and really students are being, inundated with, these disciplines, which is great, which is very vertical, but you're missing the other part. And MIT did a survey a few years ago of CEOs, and one of the biggest complaints that CEOs had about their new recruits was that they came from great schools, they were brilliant in their very vertical discipline, but what they lacked was mental agility. They lacked the ability to zag. When people were thrown a curveball, they couldn't necessarily adapt. Also, they weren't great team players, team members and all. Hence, the need for the humanities and for literature along with the other disciplines and all that, very, very important. The left brain, right brain thing? Well, the whole STEM thing was all left brain. Now we need some of the right brain as well. So that's where all of that came from. Anyway, Quickly, the background, we at the Toy Association saw this phenomenon really occurring, and we saw it specifically in the toy industry, where a lot of our members were literally labeling their toys STEM or STEAM. And when we'd go and we'd ask, I saw it actually at a toy fair a few years ago, and we'd go and we ask someone, well, what criteria did you use, to label this product STEM or STEAM? And we got a myriad of different answers. And the more research we did, we understood there was tremendous confusion. And there was no real solid agreement about what qualifies a product. In this case, it was a toy, but a product in general, STEM or STEAM. So we really then launched a whole effort, starting with our first study, which was really called Decoding STEM STEAM, which was really trying to define what it is and provide clarity to it. That was the first one. Then we followed it up with STEM STEAM, The Road to Success, and that really laid out more practically 14 characteristics or guardrails on what you need to do to develop toys. But this really goes beyond toys. It goes into all different types of product. Those two studies that Tanda had mentioned are on toyassociation.org/STEAM. You can download them now. So we've done that, and this has gone on for a couple of years. So then we said, okay, but what happens after that? Where's the unrealized potential? Where can STEM STEAM go, especially in educating children, but more what about in developing product, et cetera, et cetera? And that's where we partnered with Prodigy Works. Ted Curtin, by the way, he's the the chief innovator at Prodigy Works. And so then we worked together, and Ted's going to describe to you the process that the Prodigy Works went through to get to where we are right now.
So thank you, Ken. And thanks for inviting me to speak at CES with the Toy Association on this work that we did. Because it was really exciting work, and we knew we needed to bring in outside thinking, but we also wanted to go way outside of the box. And that's why it was a perfect fit for Prodigy Works. Prodigy Works is a global innovation network that grew out of a partnership with Mensa, the High IQ Society, about 15 years ago. And it's thousands and thousands of Mensa geniuses all over the globe, covering every conceivable educational, occupational, cultural, language background that you could imagine. Literally the top 2 percentile of IQ in the world. Plus thousands of super creative thinkers, so artists, musicians, writers, Hollywood screenwriters, sculptors. Ken mentioned the left brain, right brain. And we take really weird, but intentionally selected combinations of these prodigies from all over the world. And we collide them, 15 to 20 at a time, in an online forum for 2 weeks of 24/7 high-intensity ideation to bring in new thinking, challenge assumptions, and we've worked across a number of different industries, from food and pharma and finance and of course, toy. For this project, we brought in a Mensa teacher, scientist, engineer, a sculptor, and many other really interesting prodigies to really challenge and bring our thinking into a new space. And we've used this resource before for the Toy Association, identifying who the toy consumer of the future would be, and new places and spaces for toys, as well as retail innovation in the toy space. But for this, we wanted to take a deep exploration into the realm of STEM and STEAM. We wanted to understand where it was possible to bring STEM and STEAM into the world of play. And we did this through putting together a panel of prodigies and then unleashing them on this specific challenge.
And then what Prodigy Works came back with was a number of different pillars that they've used. And in this report that's going to be ultimately published the end of February, and we're going to be sharing some of that with you right now, we've used that and we've coined certain ideas. And these ideas are really pretty aspirational, and some can be applied immediately, some really will take a little time. But I just think about this for a second, and we're going to be maybe asking your help a little bit in this exploration. Okay.
So weather, I was always told that the best way to kill a conversation is start talking about the weather. And so it was kind of interesting and different, which is probably why we said, let's start with weather. Because it was one of the subjects that came up in our ideation with the prodigies of STEM and STEAM. You know, it used to be that weather was basically just a point of casual conversation, but you'd be hard-pressed to look back over recent weeks, months, even years, to not find some element of weather, some catastrophe or dramatic weather issue that hasn't been part of the main news cycle. And weather affects us. Climate volatility is all around us, and we see it again every week leading the news. It's no longer just sort of, hey, how's the weather? And you have to remember, we're creating toys for tomorrow's scientists. And so to be able to inspire them and to bring them into these fields at a younger age is really important. So if you could imagine perhaps toys that changed with the weather or with the forecasted weather, even the way you interacted with toys could change and respond to varying weather conditions. Even as a source of power, thinking about the forces of nature, thinking about wind or solar or waves and water. Yeah. Want to get that? And so weather really becomes a key thing of play and exploration. I mean, think about it. We're at CES. You've seen robotics all over the place, and you've seen solar componentry to the robots. But imagine, if you will, a robotic toy that remembered and then automatically returned to that sunny place in the house once the child was done playing with it or they were low on juice. And so think about other ways that we can bring weather into that experience of play and toys.
And think about the disciplines, the STEM disciplines and all, where, say, you're measuring currents in the ocean, or you're tracking hurricanes and all. Especially for children, you know, what they need to do. What if they're communicating with another student on the other side of the world that's experiencing drought while they're experiencing heavy rain? And how do they match, and what is their lifestyle like? What is that all about? So it encompasses a lot of different disciplines. And if you look at that, and we're just looking at the weather, or another one, obviously, is the environment, which we haven't really talked about. But, you know, really, you know, uncovering that and, you know, what happens in the environment and in carbon emissions and measuring that and the content in the air and having a toy or having some instrument that a child can go outside and measure and see, you know, what the air quality is like.
So we're at CES, and just a few years ago, aerial drones were all the buzz. And if you were walking the show floor these past few days, you probably didn't see a lot of aerial drones. And maybe that's because of restricted areas you can fly them and legislation and whatnot. But one of the things the Prodigies picked up on is this trend of underwater drones. And imagine opening up this vast and wildly misunderstood and unknown part of our planet to children at a young age to be able to explore through underwater drones. So are there other areas that you can think of or have seen where these types of, you know, weather sciences could be brought into the notion of play and toys?
Anyone want a t-shirt? Yeah. Okay, let's move on.
We've got it. Yeah. So even seismic activity, again, another force of nature. You know, what if there were toys that reacted to that, or at least learnings that children could sort of understand? Listen, if you've grown up in California, it's something that you understand and you know. If you grew up maybe somewhere else in the country, earthquake is just something you've heard about, maybe read about, maybe even watched a video clip, but you can't even understand what that would be like. And imagine if there was a way to bring children across geographic boundaries closer to those types of environments.
And so academically, just that really can open up a whole world for students. And ma'am, send me your information. Okay,
Yeah.
next.
Yeah. Was there another question?
Yeah.
In the back, go ahead.
In agriculture, farming, wind turbines?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hold on, because
definitely, yeah.
we're going to get back there. You're jumping ahead. Did you see this?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And the next pillar, really, you know, who really enjoyed chemistry in high school? You know, I was a pre-med student and I dropped out with organic chemistry. you know, it was awful. How do we make chemistry fun? How do we bring it alive? What can we do with that?
Yeah, more importantly, if you think about it, we typically teach these advanced sciences to older students, high school, maybe a little bit younger. I mean, we talk about it with younger students, but it's hard. It's hard to teach these advanced sciences to younger students and younger children. And there's a reason. These atoms and these molecules are really small, and it becomes very abstract and not always easy for either a teacher to explain or a children to grasp those concepts. I have a little video clip we're going to play in a second. But when you think about what we can do to sort of lower that age threshold and introduce these principles and concepts, and more importantly, really spur creativity in these children. This is an area where we need creativity and outside thinking. If we are going to advance the pace of scientific discovery and medical breakthroughs, we need to get more children that are involved and curious about these fields, not less. And the notion of creativity, it changes through our life. There's no time that you're more creative than as a young child. And as time goes on and you get older, norms seep in and rules and restrictions and bumpers and barriers and all those things that inhibit our natural creativity and our ability to just think freely and wildly.
And imagine a student, living in a world through AR, VR, living in a world of all molecules and atoms.
Why don't you run the clip, Ken?
And combining.
So this is CES, and VR is all around us, and it's no longer something that we might have in 5, 10 years. It's something that's here. It's things that people are using. Imagine if we were able to sort of create these molecules, these atoms, in a virtual environment. Even better than this, larger than life. Atoms, molecules the size of kickballs that a child can take oxygens and hydrogen and literally put them together in front of them and see what happens when those atoms and molecules are combined. And even maybe more dangerous combinations and permutations of molecules and atoms from the safety of virtual reality, which again, spurs this creativity at a young age and really is where we need to be as we think about opportunities to introduce younger students to the sciences.
And where do you have teams creating new elements, new molecules that you never saw before? The other thing is having the physical representation in the classroom as well. So there's the combination of physical, kinesthetic, as well as virtual. Having that both, which is probably our research is showing is the most powerful.
Yeah,
for children
you can't
to
tell
learn.
me that this sort of concept, when you make it visual and make it virtually tangible, isn't something that a young child couldn't grasp. I mean, if you've ever seen a 5-year-old whiz their way through the latest iPhone, this is nothing that it's beyond them. So, and I think that, to Ken's point, this isn't just a solo endeavor. This is an opportunity for teams. We're teaching collaboration at this point, where teams can actually work together and build these molecules and look at cells.
And what if you brought it in the home? And what if there was like the chemistry of baking? And you show how yeast affects flour when it's fed properly and it's treated properly and the temperature is right, how it grows and it creates carbon dioxide and bread is formed, and that's all chemistry. And if you change things, if you add a lot of salt and suddenly you stop the growth of the yeast and all. I mean, there's so many things that can be done through looking in the classroom, looking at virtual reality, and also taking it into the home and in more practical applications as well. That's where we're talking about the unrealized potential of STEM. That's kind of where maybe we can go.
So who knows what this is? And it's a bird, so you're not getting a t-shirt for that. Who can tell me what kind of bird this is? Who said that?
Who said?
There's a t-shirt right there. Okay, this is a kingfisher.
Give me your information.
And the kingfisher is a fascinating bird, and you're probably wondering, what the heck do we have a kingfisher on the screen for? Do you know what makes the kingfisher special? They fish. Okay, well, that's good enough. Let me tell you, they're really good at fishing, okay? And there's a reason they're really good at fishing. If you can, okay,
Oh,
perfect.
whoa.
Okay, so they can dive. And
We're getting warm.
But here's the thing, a lot of fish can dive. But if you think about the fish swimming underwater and the bird seeing the fish and wanting to dive down and get that fish, most birds' beak design is such that when it hits the water, it's going to make a splash and it's going to send some shock waves down to tell that little fishy, danger, you know, and they're going to scurry. But the kingfisher's design, the beak of the kingfisher is designed to pierce through the surface tension of the water with barely a ripple to be able to surprise the fish. Again, why are we talking about kingfishers? So we're going to take a little trip right now. We're going to sort of close our eyes and we're going to take a nice journey to Japan, where the bullet train was invented. And if you can think about the bullet train, not yet.
Do it now?
Nope, not yet. Hold on, Ken's anxious. I know, he loves this. He's like, he's my little kid here. You know, as the advancements of speed on the bullet train continued to grow and it started approaching speeds of 200, 250 miles an hour, there was a problem. And the train is pushing a pillow of air in front of it and creating this sonic-like boom, especially as these trains exit these tunnels. And you could imagine being in the communities surrounding these train tracks and not being too thrilled that several times a day there's this massive explosion that feels a little bit like an earthquake probably. And so they needed to try and figure out a solution. And one of the engineers that was brought in to try and solve this problem was also a birder. And he hypothesized, after seeing the kingfisher and how stealthy they were, that if we could do something to mimic the shape of the kingfisher beak, we might be able to pierce through the air just like the kingfisher beak pushes through or pierces through the surface tension of the water, which is where we get biomimicry.
Biomimicry. Anyone ever hear of it before?
Okay, Ken, you can.
Have, yeah.
Now you can play.
Now, one second. I just want to know. No, does anyone have any example, before we'll show you a couple of examples here, but before we do that, anyone have any examples of biomimicry that you know of? Yes.
The underwater UASs.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
There are two species of butterfly. One is poisonous, the other is not, and they look very similar.
Yeah.
So if you've had an experience with the poisonous one,
Yeah.
you're not going to go after the one that's not poisonous.
That's interesting.
So you can flip to the next picture. We might need to get some more T-shirts, by the way. I'm sorry?
Architecture.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Hydrophobic. Yep.
Yes. Excellent. Guys, get me all your information. You'll get a solution.
So you can see
There's
the
bullet
similarities, and you'll see most bullet trains today have this similar type of front end to it. Go ahead, you can go to the next slide. And this exists in other places. If you think about the pectoral fin of a whale and notice the similarities of the giant wind turbine blades, that's not a coincidence. And there's many other areas of biomimicry. You know, here's the thing. ProdigyWorks is pretty cool. It's a really neat resource for innovation, but we can't hold a candle to the most incredible innovation lab ever, and that's nature. Nature had a 3-point-some-odd billion-year head start. And for billions and billions of years, nature has perfected systems and adapted and improved. And all we need to do is step back for a moment and look at some of these patterns and systems in nature right outside, maybe not right outside our door, this is Vegas, a little bit further than Vegas. We look to nature and we can see solutions and opportunities. But with biomimicry being such an important force in the sciences right now, why not bring that into toys? What are the areas of toys, toy design, toy functionality that we could learn from nature and bring this content and this subject matter to a younger audience?
Or beyond toys.
Or beyond toys.
Or general learning. You know, just think about all the possibilities, and there's so many possibilities. Now, where do you think Velcro came from? Ever walk in the woods or anything and you get those little stickies on you and all?
And now Velcro is everywhere.
And you know, and now Velcro is, you know, the billion-dollar industry. And all. Ready for
Yeah,
another?
I'm good. We like this one.
Now, first of all, let's just qualify. Okay, now wearable tech has been around for a while.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah. So, and you see it all over CES, but for the most part, wearables have been focused on fitness and health and sports. And we think there's a tremendous opportunity to bring wearables and wearable tech into learning and play and toy. Imagine if you didn't have to go and get your toy, or you didn't have to stop and play. Imagine if play and discovery was as close as the clothes that we're wearing. And think about the implications. I mean, the Prodigies had a blast with this, and even after that, you know, our two teams just kept going and riffing back and forth. Think about the ability to walk through the woods and you see something, an insect on the ground, and you point your finger, which has a camera in it, and it not only magnifies it to the curved screen on your sleeve, but it also identifies what this is. And by the way, it's poisonous, so don't touch. But there's an ability to learn and to explore and experience things, pointing it at a leaf and seeing what kind of tree that is, or other types of things in nature that not just sort of make things larger than life.
well, what if you hold up
but
your
help us
watch in front
explore.
of the Empire State Building and it shows the architectural structure of it and all? It shows the engineering, shows the support beams, or a bridge, and shows the casings and how they go down into the water and all that. All of this type of intelligence that there's potential for and that the children can learn from.
Imagine a module. You're going to go on a family road trip, and there's a module for wherever you're going that you can sort of plug in and download. And on the way, you've got all these virtual historical markers that come up when you pass these points of interest. Or you're driving down and you see this mountain or this geological feature outside of your window, and you point to it, and it tells you that's Mount so-and-so, or whatever that might be. So tons of possibilities, and not just here too. You know, you go to the next slide. In the realm of play too. Oh, okay, we don't have that. I thought we had that here. All right, so go back.
I'm going to go back.
So even if, you know, if a child sporting event, and, you know, there's, you know, the ability to see how fast your pitch was, or whatever that is, you know, there's opportunities for wearables, and we think that, you know, this goes well beyond what wearables are being used for right now.
So should we, I don't know what our time is.
We've got 4 minutes left. Any thoughts on wearables and wearable tech?
Where we can go with this thing?
Yeah.
I'd love to see.
You don't get 2 t-shirts. Okay,
I'd love to see
fair
something like this as a vehicle for kids to tell their own stories.
Oh, thank you,
See
Danny.
something like this, augmented reality especially, as a vehicle for kids to tell their own stories, and not only to say, I've seen this butterfly here, so that when the next kid comes along, their phone buzzes and they know there's something there to look for.
Yeah.
That's great.
Any other thoughts? Yeah.
Are there any new inventions in music itself? We do, professional musicians recreate them literally, but we need more inventions on just even how to show someone's stage presence and things, even if it is with wearables, even if it is with immediate response. And there's just nothing. We've been through this whole place trying to find things that would enhance the experience of becoming a creative.
That's a
I
really
think wearables
fascinating-
hold tremendous potential in arts and music and stage performances. I think there's a world of opportunity with wearables. And
how to
again,
make-
we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Really, again, what we're trying to do here is sort of provide that initial level of insight to inspire toy designers and manufacturers and engineers to think differently about the toys that they're creating. Listen, we run a risk here. You know, we have an opportunity by bringing STEM and STEAM into toys to not just let the next generation be dumbed down by their devices, but to really create a new generation of students and creative, passionate thinkers and learners who are just inspired by the technology around them.
And STEM and coding is very important, but coding isn't everything. There's so much more, and hopefully you're seeing some idea, you're getting some idea of it right now. You know, also, just so you know, we're going to be having a more fleshed out presentation at Toy Fair if anyone is planning to go, you know, around this whole topic. The other thing is the report that's going to be available at the end of February is really, in my opinion, going to be a primer for inventors and for designers. We think it can be that powerful.
So we'll
I
take
guess we
30
have
seconds on, we've got a
30
minute and a
seconds.
half, so let's do.
You want to do the greater good?
Just to bring the topic up, because the notion of the greater good came up, and you know, I think we see a huge opportunity to bring play to the notion of doing good and have the aspect or ability to do good and still have fun doing so introduced at a younger age, to make it just part of a child's ethos. So again, there will be more on this at Toy Fair, but thank
and
you.
also go to toyassociation.org/STEAM, and there are the reports that are up there now. There's 2 of them. The 3rd one will be up the end of February. Okay? And thank you very much.
Thank you for being
That was
here.
great. And also,
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Todd.